Hey everyone, it's Celebration Friday, and I wanted to share with you today about my experience and my story of celebrating and how that came to be in my life because it hadn't always been that I knew what celebrating was. In fact, it's a fairly recent phenomenon in my life. In the last 2 years, I learned what celebration really was all about. I learned it from my best friend. And the reason why this was important for me is because prior to 2 years ago, my life was I was pretty unhappy. You can see that from my About Me page on my website as well. But I had suffered from a number of, breakdown moments, like low points, rock bottom moments, I call them. Um, when I thought I should have been happy, I had it all per se. Um, I had a great career. I did awesome in school. I killed it, and I had a great group of friends all of that time. But I was still deeply, deeply unhappy. And I want to demonstrate it through a couple of experiences, and you'll see it. If a lot of people would say that I should have been over the moon. I graduated from Boston University in 2008, being a Phi Beta Kappa and graduating summa cum laude. That day was one of the hardest days of my life. It was really awful because I was listening to all my friends talk about their amazing experiences in college, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I totally missed out on college. I was studying really hard because I was afraid of losing the scholarship that I had gotten to go to Boston University. And it was like just in my nature to like always be working. And it's like I couldn't take a break. And while there were moments that I remember fondly from college, there were only a handful. Whereas all of my friends on the day that we were graduating were talking about these awesome experiences that they had throughout college. And I just felt like I wasn't part of that clique or that group or that understanding or that experience. And it felt really awful because so many people talk about college being like the best 4 years of your life, and it wasn't like terrible years for me by any stretch of the imagination, but they weren't super memorable because I wasn't doing anything for myself to have fun, to enjoy my life. Not really, at least. There were definitely like specific fond memories that I have living in London, being in Peru, um, and seeing friends, going to hockey games every once in a while with friends. But like the hockey games only started in my senior year of college, and like I kind of feel like I just lost out on a lot of opportunity to have the college experience when I've heard from so many other people about their college experiences. So that was a pretty rough way to end my 4 years. And while I was still happy the way I graduated, I didn't feel like it was worth it to me because I had worked so hard that I had kind of forgotten everything else that was going on in my life and that I get to be joyful about. And I didn't really know what to be joyful about, frankly. It was a really, really rough period in my life. And then I came to Washington D.C. and I decided like I was going to make things better. I was going to have more fun. And I definitely was having much more fun and enjoying my life outside of my work. But I was working at the Senate Banking Committee during the financial crisis, which had its own set of things going on, you know. It was kind of in the middle of the financial crisis. You know, it was a busy, busy couple of years, and I was still much more focused on working hard rather than focused on enjoying my life while enjoying my career. And I continued to grow and like get raises, get amazing work experiences. And then I got into graduate school at Johns Hopkins, and I got a full tuition scholarship to go, which was phenomenal. And I was over the moon that one day that I got, that I found out that I got into Johns Hopkins and that I was going to go on a full tuition scholarship. Like, that was a really great moment. But then when I looked back on the last few years that led to that moment, I was like, was it worth it? Did I feel like am I happy? And I couldn't really tell if I was or not, even though at that moment I was extremely happy that my hard work had paid off. And then while I was in New York at the Federal Reserve of New York, I loved my job. I was really good at it. I really enjoyed it. But there was something that was really missing for me in my personal life. And this is like the same story. It was happening over and over again. It's like cycles of my life was just happening over and over again. And it wasn't until 2 years ago that I really understood the thing that was missing was celebration. And it was because my best friend, reached out to me and was talking to me about it. And she said, well, have you celebrated recently? And I was like, what do you mean? There's nothing to celebrate. She's like, what do you mean there's nothing to celebrate? I'm like, well, I didn't have a big event. There's like nothing big going on. And she's like, you don't celebrate the little things? You don't celebrate like the everyday things? And that's when it like hit me. I'm like, well, how do you even celebrate the everyday things? So it was a big moment, which is why I included this theme as part of what I talk about every single week on video, because so many of us forget to celebrate the little things. I'm probably one of the worst offenders of forgetting how to celebrate the little things, but it didn't really happen in my family either. You know, we were just trained to celebrate the big things, to celebrate a big graduation, to celebrate a birthday, but there's things to celebrate every single day of our lives, and we're missing it because we're so focused on trying to get to that big thing that like we're kind of missing the little things in between. And it's never about the end, right? It's about the journey to the end. And we're never going to get to the end per se, in the sense that like once we've achieved one thing, we've already moved on to the next. So the question now becomes, if that's the case, what do we want to do to feel joyful in the present moment and enjoy the little things that are happening in the present moment? So for me in my coaching business, it could be like, you know, getting a couple new clients, or getting a couple new people on my email list, or having a new conversation with somebody through Facebook or over email. Or it could be going to a networking event and meeting new people there and helping and contributing to their growth and understanding of how networking works or something of that nature. It's as simple as that, and just being like really joyful about the impact that I'm making on the daily basis, rather than just on, you know, what would happen over 4 years of university education, or 2 years of my graduate school education, or, you know, at the end of a professional experience like in the New York Fed or at the Senate Banking Committee. You know, all of those are things to be celebratory of as well. But the thing to really celebrate at the end of the day are all of those little things in the middle, because that's when we'll feel joyful just celebrating the little things too, right? And we forget so often. We think we don't have time to do that. That was often my remark. I don't have time to celebrate those things. And frankly, what's there to celebrate really? Because it's not even that big a deal. But what if you just considered that it is a little step along your journey and therefore deserves that recognition? Isn't that a more powerful way to acknowledge yourself, especially in a career search where, you know, what are you going to do? Say that you're only going to be happy once you get the job offer? What about all those steps in between where you get to be happy? Where you're networking, where you get an interview, an offer for an interview, or you've talked to like a really amazing person who's willing to help you network in the career that you want. There's so many things to celebrate, and we forget. We have this tendency to forget that. Me just as much as you. And it's important to ground ourselves every single week, every single day in that, which is why I do this celebratory Friday, because it's so important to continue to celebrate every single day. So what are you going to do to celebrate today? What are you going to do to be excited about what you accomplished this week and what you've created this week in your career and in your life? I promise you, it will shift the way you view yourself. It will shift the way you feel in your life. It will have you feeling joyful and grateful for all those little things in a way that makes the journey just as sweet as the end result. So what are those little steps that you took this week? I'd love to hear from you, because this is part of, this is part of finding joy in every single day of your life. And if you want to find more joy in your career, join me for my webinar in next week on May 19th. There's a link on this group, and feel free to join, because this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to create this joy, how to thrive rather than survive in your current job, because you really want to feel like you're thriving every single day. So what are you going to do to thrive? I'd love to hear from you. Share with us. Share in this group. It's so powerful to share in this way, and I can't wait to hear from you. Love you. Bye.